that occurred in Randall Shampar's incident that doesn't involve aliens at all.
It was completely silent. It comes right over our heads.
He saw a classic flying saucer really standing in the clearing.
He turned over to my father and held his hand, and he looked in his eyes and he said, "We're not alone."
Welcome to Podcast UFO for our live show. During the show, feel free to participate live in our chat room. And don't forget to like us on our very active Facebook page.
Hello, and welcome to the show. I'm Martin Willis, your host, and I'm pretty excited about tonight's show. We're going to be talking about the Ariel Phenomenon. It's a film coming up by Randall Nickerson, and we have an actual witness to that case, Emily Trim, who will be joining us tonight from Canada as well. And we're coming up just 6 days on the 25th anniversary of that event, which was actually, I don't know why. I guess I'm kind of a geek and my iPhone geek. I asked Siri how many days ago it was. It was 9,125 days ago. So Randall and Emily will be coming up. We have Alejandro Rojas. He was running a little bit late. He's trying to connect to us. We'll see how that goes. And so hopefully he'll be coming up with the news. Just a couple of things. Last week, I wanted to apologize for not having a show. I went out to the UFO Congress, International UFO Congress, and tried to do a round table there. I had everybody lined up, and it just was not happening. Hang on just a second. Alejandro's trying to join us. I just have to do a couple of things. It's not working the way he's trying to do it. So so my sound card fried in my laptop, which I always take to me, like in Russia and any place that I do, any places that I do a show, I bring my laptop with me, and it just wasn't having any of it. It wasn't working. I had all kinds of things happen, not just that, other software problems. I was on the phone with Apple for 2 days. Anyway, long story short, I couldn't do a show, but I was able to record 3 interviews. One with James Fox, one with, let's see, who else was it? The Australians from Victoria. The whole group, I did a round robin with them, and then I did another one. Why am I losing my thought? Who the heck did I do? Oh, yes. My very favorite one was with Calvin Parker and Paul Hynek, son of J. Allen Hynek. How could I forget that? So those will be popping up on YouTube. Also, they will be going out to supporters of the show. So if you are a supporter of the show, you will see these things pop into your media player, or you can access them online. If you're not, you can always watch the YouTube video. Currently up, I have 2. I have Calvin Parker and Paul Hynek up, and I also have James Fox up on my YouTube channel, and that's over at Martin Willis Live Shows over on YouTube. That's the channel. I know it's kind of a silly name, but anyway, I am really excited for tonight's show. Did I say that already? But I think we got Alejandro on the line. Alejandro, are you there? Alejandro. I see you, but
there we go. I had to unmute. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Welcome to the show.
Good. Thank you.
You must be on like what they call a sugar high from the UFO Congress. What?
I'm a bit on a sugar high, but that's because we awarded ourselves with a cheat breakfast, and we went off diet, and I had some French toast with syrup, so literally sugar. Otherwise, I'm still extremely tired. If you can tell from my eyes, I'm just super, super tired. I think, all that adrenaline that you're running on most of the time just has gone away. So, exhausted.
Well, I'll tell you, you pulled off a great show. There's no other way to say it. It's so much work. No one has any idea how it is unless they actually help out. And I did help out. I screwed up a couple of times on the TriCaster. I felt bad about that. But overall, it was I really enjoyed myself. I had a good time.
Well, you know what? We all screw up a little bit here and there. And luckily, no major issues. I think even the screw-ups that you had, I don't think I had one person comment or even mention any of it. So hopefully they didn't notice. I mean, you did a remarkable job. You're excellent at it. It's so great to have you there helping out. And yeah, you did such a great job. I mean, sure, there were some tense moments where things weren't exactly on cue, but besides you and I don't think anybody else noticed.
Yeah. No, that's like doing a live show times 10. Doing a live show, you're always nervous because the troubles that can happen. You've been through many with me doing this show. So, but there, oh my God, you're all the people in the audience, and you're also recording for your videos that go out. It's pretty intense, but we got through it, and it was a blast. Do you want to talk about that today? Go ahead.
Yeah, I did want to mention, for instance, what we were doing was a live broadcast. And just imagine, we gave the Lifetime Achievement Award to George Knapp, and he has to do that on a daily basis. I mean, broadcast news, I did a bit as a college student, and it's so stressful and difficult. Every day you got to get to work. You got to hunt down a story. You got to hunt down those people. You got to record the show. Then you get into, the office. And then you do the show live where you have to coordinate all the cameras and stuff what we were doing. In fact, the system you're using was made for that sort of switching on live broadcasts. So, and you're manning the whole directing part. So you do a great job with that. But yeah, it's really stressful. And it just, George Knapp has been doing that for so many years. And it's kind of funny because I've seen a little bit online where people have said, oh, look, it's just a group of friends giving each other awards. And that makes me kind of curious. True, I'd have to admit I do consider George and Jeremy friends, Jeremy Corbell. But to me, and I'd love to hear your opinion, it seems intuitively obvious that George Knapp would receive a Lifetime Achievement Award. For God's sakes, this is a guy who made Area 51 famous, and currently he's got the latest breaking news with all of these leaked documents regarding ATIP. And then, of course, Jeremy Corbell with his movies, Storm Area 51 becoming huge, him bringing Bob Lazar all over the place. I don't think it takes much to see that even objectively, these two are deserving of the awards we gave them. But it was a lot of fun.
Well, I got to tell you, I think no matter who you're going to give an award to, that people are going to complain. I just really do. I just feel that is just what happens these days. I definitely think George deserved that, even though he stood me up for an interview. But hopefully he'll be on, and he said he would come on the show. I have to pre-record with him, though, at some point. But anyway, I think...
would not believe.
Yeah, I think he definitely deserved that award. You have my thumbs up for that one. But anyway, like I said, that's just what's going to happen, and it's the way it goes. But it was really exciting to see all these people. A lot of them for the first time. That was what I really got out of the whole thing. It was wonderful.
Yeah, I think the whole event turned out, in retrospect, better than expected. And it takes a lot of pre-work and. Karen, for instance, who owns and is the decision maker, she's the boss when it comes to this conference. People like to give me credit and thank you for that. And I do, a lot. I'm her second-hand man. But, it's all that stress and preparation that pays off. And Lord knows, it used to be owned by someone who had deep pockets and he made his money elsewhere. But for Karen, it's really important that, first of all, everything goes well for reputation, but also, that there's no major issues for financial reasons, because it can be much more financially devastating to her than it would be for the previous owners. So, the stress, that you get under is monumental. It's huge. And to run the conference and put it on, she really hit it out of the ballpark on this one. It's a unique experience, I think, and you can let me know your thoughts too, because the level of professionalism and the of the speakers, which is something we take a lot of time and effort to make sure that they're all great people. Even some of the newer people, Tui Snyder, Lisa Tenney, Sonia Barrett, some of these people who haven't spoken, Debbie Cobble, the focus of the Intruder book in the movie, incredible. Calvin Parker, Paul Hynek, all of these people who haven't been there before, they were all extraordinary. They were wonderful. They were really good. And so it's very exciting that it all went so well and that everyone turned out to be so wonderful, including our help, including you. And, of course, the other great people that we're hanging out with. And then people like James Fox coming in and revealing, exclusive information that's never been seen before at the conference. It turned out really, really good. And just so people know, any questions you have, please ask Martin, because I know my brain's kind of fried. So if you think there's some news that we should be sharing from the conference, but we will be, especially next week, posting some short videos and posting lots of news and information about some of the breaking news that did happen during the conference.
Yeah, one of the things I thought, getting back to George Knapp, you and I have had conversations. We had one just before George went up, and I said to you, that George does not like anyone to, say nice things about him. It drives him crazy. And you and I were laughing about it, and you said to me, yeah, keep it secret that I'm giving him, lifetime award. Just keep it secret or he'll go out. And that's one of the first things he said to you when he got up there. He said, I knew, that if you told me this, I wouldn't have shown up tonight.
Yeah, I know.
That was really funny.
I was worried he was going to get mad because
I know.
He had told me in the past, because when we do these awards, we create these videos that show about their life, and why they deserve the awards. And I couldn't ask him for any information, so I had to do my research separately for the video. Mm-hmm. And I had to be super secretive, because in the past, when I told him, well, we really want you there and we want to give you a award on Sunday, he would say, no, you can't. It's not that, thank you very much. But I really just feel uncomfortable when I get attention for awards and stuff. And not just from us. I know he feels that way with other awards. You don't see him promoting that he has, all these awards from these Edward R. Murrow awards and these Emmys and everything. He doesn't talk about that much.
Yeah.
But so this year, he never told me that. He never said, okay, if I come, don't give me an award. And I kept expecting it. And I was so worried that he would, even like a week before, after we had done the planning and I did all this work to create the video and the research on his background. And I hope he lets me share this video that I did, because, it shows how he got to where he is. And but he never told me that. Now, he'd never caught wind, and I was so surprised. He never said, don't do it, because then I would have had to have not. So it was great. So we do it, and he comes to this stage, and he's swaggering kind of like a John Wayne,
That's right. Yeah.
Battle thing.
There is a similarity.
He looks at, gives me this look. And he's like, that was really sneaky, Alejandro. And I said, I know. And I'm just laughing and giggling. And he's like, I wouldn't have come if I would have known. And I said, I know. I totally know that. So it worked out great. So we were able to sneakily give him this award that he totally deserves. Jeremy was telling me how shy he was about it afterwards. But of course, Jeremy was happy that we were able to reward him too.
Yeah. Okay, Alejandro. Well, we've eaten up all our time. So thanks so much. Okay. And we'll be seeing you next week. Get some good rest. And just remember, don't jump back on that sugar. It's awful hard once you take that first bite of sugar.
Oh, don't worry about it. That's it. That's one cheat breakfast. We're going back to diet the rest of the time. But thank you so much for doing such a great job at the conference. You were awesome. It was wonderful to have you there. And I hope you have a great show today.
Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
Yeah.
All right. So everyone, that's it for the news, and now we're going to bring on our guests. We have Randall Nickerson, who has created this wonderful film. He's taken forever to do it, and he is I know him well enough to tell you this. He is I call him Randy, but Randall. I'll try to call him Randall because he's a professional. And when I say he's a professional, you should look at his wildlife photography and some of his work. He is extremely fussy, perfectionist, and this film has taken a long time. And after speaking to him the other night, or last night actually, he said that when he watches the film, he loves it. And he is his harshest critic, so I cannot wait for this film to come out. Welcome to the show, you two.
Hi, Martin. Hey,
Hi.
thanks for having us on.
Hi. And Emily, you and I met, I don't know, 3 years ago in Phoenix, and we hung out quite a bit. We had a lot of really great talks, and it was very enjoyable to meet you.
Yes, yeah, it was wonderful.
And you had your artwork. I want to talk about that tonight because I think you have mentioned before that you were influenced a lot by that. But first of all, Randy, you mentioned that we're coming up on 25 years. Is there people talking about the 25th anniversary of that event?
I don't think so, but I think it's something to mention and honor. It was 25 years ago that this event occurred, and it affected a lot of people in Africa and beyond that. It affected John Mack's life and Tim Leach in England, and many people this event affected. And after spending so much time with the students and the school and the wonderful teachers there and all the reporters, I felt like it was I thought it was a great something to be honored.
Yes, yeah, I know. Like you said, it affected so many people's lives, and John Mack, who is no longer with us, that's just it's just too bad that he didn't get to see where this whole thing has gone. And Emily, do you remember meeting John Mack?
It was kind of a bit of a chaotic time when the whole event occurred. So we were introduced to so many different people, and I didn't really know who was who at the time. So do I recognize his face as somebody that was down there? Yes, but it was, Cynthia Hines was down there. BBC was down there. It was just so many different people that we were being interviewed by at the time.
Oh, yes. And do you remember, let's see, Randy, are you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, yes. It looked like your call was coming through again for some reason.
It was. I think it was coming through with the video.
Oh, okay. Well, during the commercial, we'll try that.
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll try that.
We'll try that.
Sounds good.
And that won't be until another, I don't know, it looks like 25, 30 minutes from now. But
sure.
So, Randy, when did you first get word of this whole event?
The first time I heard about this was actually with John Mack in Boston, and he was showing me the kids, the video of the kids from Zimbabwe. That was actually when he got back from there in '94, and yeah, I was just struck by the honesty and sincerity of the people. And that's something I've found when I went and found the school and started meeting the teachers and all the other students. I'm like, wow, these people are pretty straight and real, and honest. And I noticed that in their eyes, as much in the archival footage as I did with them in person in the present day. And that moved me, particularly when people are telling you a story that seems unbelievable. Mm-hmm. But you could really feel the truth and honesty of everybody, the student witnesses and the teachers and the other people in the surrounding area that had seen things. They were just genuine, and I really appreciate that actually about the whole school and all the witnesses that have come forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Emily, a question for you: do you sometimes take a look at some of those interviews on YouTube or wherever they are, wherever you find them, of the children being interviewed by John Mack? I mean, it's so chilling. Is that something you actually look at sometimes?
Yeah. It was actually kind of a bit of a funny story on how I met Randall. I didn't I locked the experience away for quite some time. I am a missionary's kid. And we moved in 1995, so just after the event had occurred, and moved to Canada. So I was dealing with culture shock, and I was dealing with new schools and new residency, and all these different things. So I kind of locked it up for a while and didn't process the actual event. And then I think I must have been like 19 to 21 when I looked online for the first time, and my mind started thinking about the event. And I was actually kind of mad, to be honest, because, people in the experiencers, as I've just come to know, they get ridiculed a lot. There's a lot of stigma and stereotype on them. And I wrote, I think it was the John Mack Institute, and that's kind of how Randall and I got introduced, where I wrote kind of a nasty email, pretty upset over the fact that our stories were all over, and we were just kids, at the time. And you knew the event happened, you knew that people had come down to interview you, but you didn't realize the ramifications of what it meant to actually be an experiencer at the time. So, so that's how Randall and I met. And he at first was like, I don't know if I'm going to ever speak to this person, if they're going to want to be interviewed.
Yeah, I remember that very well.
Yeah.
It's been a long journey with Emily, from that first email of, saying, why are you telling our story, or something to that effect. I'm like, oh, okay. It was very interesting, but it's grown over time, a long time actually, to a really nice friendship. And, and I really appreciate that. And a lot with the other Ariel kids too, just to get to know them and their lives and their families. And, it's been pretty special.
So when did you first speak to each other?
I believe it was 2000. I don't know. I think it was 2011 or 2012, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When we first, when the email first happened, or when we first actually met?
The email was 2008. I still have it, by the way.
Earlier.
Yeah, I still have it. And then I think we met in person in 2012 or 2013.
13, yeah, I think it was 2013. Because at the time, the experience started to come to the forefront of my mind, and I was really needing to process the event. And I saw Randall and I had connected on Facebook, and I saw that he was trying to reach out to one of the other teachers to speak about the event. And I had no idea, Randall, he had presented to me after the original email that there was a documentary that was happening, and I at first didn't want to participate. It took me about 5 years after the fact, and the experience started becoming more and more to the forefront of needing to be processed, and I reached out to him, and he said, can I call you? And I said yes, and I told him my testimony, and he said, you've got a very good comprehension of the event and what had occurred at the time, and was, I had, unbeknownst to me, there was these interviews happening in Los Angeles, so he asked me if I would fly out there, and I did, and the rest has kind of been history. And I've been a part of this journey with Randall, and along with the other children who are now adults. And we all felt it was time to talk about it.
Now, if it wasn't for this film, Emily, do you think that you would have connected with your fellow classmates, or do you think it may never have? Some of them I'm sure you have been in touch with, but I mean, has this really helped pull a lot of you together?
Well, I think, on my Instagram today, I actually posted a post saying, I think one of the most valuable things that we got out of Ariel School was creating these bonds of friendship and families, and, we always connected. None of us really discussed the event after the fact. It got the attention worldwide, and, a lot of the kids were able to process it as a group. at the time. But then as we grew up, we just kind of put it away and, focused on our lives and focused on just developing into adults and, focusing on our careers. And we've always stayed in touch, and we will always have those bonds and we'll always have those memories. But, we didn't really discuss it. So it was a nice opportunity because at the time, I was standing side by side with Liesel during the event and one of the other children. And Emma and Selma, who was on your show, was it last year?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, but she revisited the show last summer.
Okay. Emma and Selma also came down for the interviews in Los Angeles, and we were, both of us, these four women, Liesel and myself were standing side by side during the event, and Selma and Emma were standing side by side during the event. So we didn't know that, we didn't know that we were going to be seeing who was actually with us at the time, So it was kind of a beautiful thing to have happen, and it was a great way of reconnecting and discussing the whole experience.
One of the things I neglected to do, and I apologize to the new listener, since actually December 16th, 2017, since the New York Times article came out, everything has basically changed. And with that, I have new people listening to the show all the time, and I do get a lot of email with people asking me, can you explain the cases a little bit more? Because it's all new to a lot of people. This case, someone may have never heard about. Emily, would you like to walk us through, in a nutshell, kind of the events that led to this happening?
Yeah. Okay. So we were the families at the time that were there founded Ariel School, and so we were a group of children that had actually founded the school, and we were attending classes just like normal, and we had a recess break, and during the recess, it was just like any other day. We were playing in the playground, which was, there was a perimeter of a boundary because there was a lot of brush where snakes and, all different types of wildlife and diversity could exist and roam. So we were playing, and my friend and I, this is just my personal account, my friend and I, we were hopping along the boundary logs, and all of a sudden we heard this high-pitched frequency, and there was like a flash in the sky, and the ship landed in just outside of the perimeter of the boundary logs, and all of a sudden there was chaos on the playground. Kids were running towards the ship to get a better look, and these beings came out, and two beings presented themselves in front of me and my friend Liesel, and we experienced what we would call psychic or telepathic communication, and I had images, like photographic images, flutter in front of my face, but in my mind. And a lot of the children described, which we all discuss, as an environmental impact, as well, so like climate change and the uses of technology. That was kind of the gist of the particular event. And then the school bell rang, and everything just disappeared. It seemed as though time was distorted, so it could have been longer than about a 15-minute period, but we don't know. So that's the gist of the actual case in a nutshell. The most beautiful thing that I find out of the whole case is the diversity, is the human connection behind Ariel School. We were all diverse. We were all from different backgrounds. We were all from different races and religions. So for me, there's a human connection to the whole thing, and I'm not really aware of any other cases that are so diverse. And it's a beautiful thing to think that a life form from another planet visited a group of children, which are the future of the planet, and, communicated to such a diverse group.
Yeah, I can fill in a little bit too, if you want.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, just for the audience. I mean, this happened in Africa, in Zimbabwe, in a very rural area, in very much a farm area. And Emily's right that the farmers all got together and created this school. This event was, primarily at the Ariel primary school, but it was also witnessed outside of that, during that whole week period of time. So just to give people a little idea. So, one of the things that fascinated me was that it took place in Africa in such a rural area, and that there were so many witnesses to this event. And it literally, it did go prime time initially when it happened, and then it had disappeared until I picked it up in 2008.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So while we're speaking with you, Randall, what actually kicked into gear this is a big project, and what happened?
Well, I the more I found out, the more I was like, wow, this is, I think it really happened with finding the kids, going to the school, finding it was still there in '08, and then going back again and again, but also going all over the world, talking to these witnesses. I spent a long time in the beginning interviewing witnesses that were not part of the Ariel School, but were around the area, to sort of get a sense of what they had seen. And again, I was struck by their candor and honesty. And but I think when it was the kids also motivated me to carry on. And also once I started interviewing the reporters that covered the scene, I was amazed because they had kept everything that had happened during that day. They kept all the tapes, all their notes, because they thought it was really a significant event. And listening to them, the different reporters, that was impressive to me, and motivated me even further. I mean, all along the way, every time I got in a new piece of archival footage from 1994, I was remotivated, and the end goal was really to just get this story told right. Tell the story as it happened, and by the people it happened to. I chose not to narrate because I just felt like it's a much more difficult path to take as a filmmaker, but it's I think it's more authentic because it comes from the people themselves. So yeah, it has been quite a journey, and the film is finally done, which is great. We're just right now working on the distribution and getting it out into the world.
Now, I've been asked, probably, how many times I've been asked. We've talked about this. People are constantly asking me when and where. Are we any closer to being able to answer either one of those questions?
Well, I think, the film is completed. That's not the issue right now. Is distribution, and we're in talks with some people now. And but again, once those conversations have to take place to make that, and they're part of that decision on as far as the release time, whether it fits in their slot, when that slot is, whether there's going to be a world premiere, which likely there will be. but I have to go through this process to get those to nail down those times. So it's coming. It's coming soon. It's completed. It's really good. I hate to say that when it's your own work, but it's not just been my work. It's been the work of the crew. It's been the work of the kids at Ariel and the school and the teachers and Judy and so many people have been just amazingly talented and skilled and dedicated to getting this film out.
And you had someone pretty important actually watch this and comment on it. I'm not sure if you were able to reach him and see if you could use his name or not.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet, but we're starting to, one of the things we're doing now is getting testimonials. We're sending it to some very famous people and well-known people, and we're starting to get those testimonials, blurbs from them about how they feel about the film. But we have several very famous people who have commented on the film and sent us really great emails, but we're not allowed yet to use the quote. Okay. They haven't narrowed down the exact quote that they want to share. But we just heard from Dan Aykroyd again today, and another man, Greg Markell. He's a very well-known publicist in advertising and for Hollywood. He's fantastic. And so we've been getting those testimonials in, which really help with the distribution side too. So it's been a switch for me from going from the creative storytelling side to now I'm a businessman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I have to, take my hat and change my hat, and focus on that. But it's coming. It's and believe me, if there's nobody else more than me myself that wants it to be out into the world, because I'm just aware of how this will affect people. I mean, we and yes, of course, absolutely.
That's right.
And affect the kids, absolutely. And to be able to share their story, it's really important. And absolutely, I feel like this, in a big way, for me, this is a gift to the kids that were there and the people that were there and the teachers that were there and the other witnesses that were around there, the pilots that were in the air, to tell the story. And I think that will probably be the most appreciated by the people that were there, because of the hard work that went into it to actually find out what the story was. Not just the event itself, but what led up to the event and what happened after the event, and the human impact of it, because this is a story about people. It's not about special effects or woo-woo stuff. It's about something serious that occurred, and how people dealt with it and have struggled with it, and how it changed their lives.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I wait by my mailbox every day looking for the video. I haven't seen it yet.
It's very
the
soon.
Influencer.
I promise you that. Promise
All
you
right.
that very soon.
Yeah. Emily, one thing that you said in your story, I just want to, it really hit me, even though you said it so matter-of-factly, was you were standing next to two beings. To me, that's like, wow. And I've talked to Salma about this, and I was just awestruck by what she said. And the telepathic thing that you're talking about, it does make sense. First of all, that school children are witnessing these. There's been a number of cases because of the message to pass to the young ones that are going to carry on in the future. Protect the planet. And boy, we see signs of that right now. We're possibly in big trouble with what's going on climate-wise. Can you describe? Do you remember? I know you were only in third grade, but can you remember what the beings look like? Can you describe those, please?
Yeah. Well, it is. I was talking to Randall about this yesterday, and I think all of us are going to have a bit of a different depiction, but very similar in their attributes, just based on being human. And, I use the description as like beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so we're all going to have kind of slight differences, and that makes it real. They were kind of reflective in their appearance, so there was a bit of a luminosity to them. Large black eyes, like elongated heads, like enlarged heads, very longer, thinner necks, not too long, but longer, thinner necks. Their limbs were more flimsy almost, and they were hovering. They weren't actually touching the ground. And I described them with a slight of a pot belly. I don't know if that means anything, but that's what they looked like. And it was slightly like if you were to use an animal as a description, the skin was like a reptile skin, but luminous, with like an iridescence to it.
Wow. I remember when I spoke to Salma, and she said that she thought they almost looked like porcelain in a way. Did you have any of that thought? I mean, now that you look back at it?
Well, like they were reflective to me. So there was like, it would be, for me, I would describe it as more light, because this event happened in the day. So when I describe it as more of like a luminosity and an iridescence, it would be like taking a fabric and creating a different sheen on the fabric. So their skin, to me, reflected the light.
I see. And when you got the telepathic message, can you describe what that was like? I mean, it's just really hard to picture how something happens telepathically.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's difficult these days, because we're doing things like transferring consciousness into robots, and we have all these kind of advancements in our technology. That it's like a neural link. So how I describe it is you're immediately immersed in the connection with the eyes. And it's almost as though the eyes create this neural link with you. And then it was just like seeing a slideshow of images run across your mind, like you would in a dream, but happening in real time.
Wow. Did you talk to other, children around you afterwards? I know you said you spoke to your friend, but would you say that they were getting the same messages or just similar messages?
I think we all had a similar comprehension. Randall might have a bit more of an understanding on that. I didn't have very much time to spend with the students after the event happened. My family and I moved very soon after the event. So a lot of the other kids got more of an opportunity to discuss it, whereas because we were missionaries, we had moved back to Canada. And so I didn't really have that time spent with the other children to really go over and discuss that. And to be honest, the teachers kind of wanted things to go back to normal. So it was back to work as usual, because our main focus was gaining education, right? So they tried to normalize the situation for us as much as possible. But Randall would have a bit more insight into hearing all the other testimonies.
Yeah, I could say, it seemed like the children that were there that were closest to this creature, that had direct eye contact with it, seemed to have had some type of telepathic communication. I can't say that it was everybody, but there were several, and it is very different. I think the message was the same, but again, like people do, everybody was in a different place, and what their background was, their education or their religious beliefs. I mean, I think affected what occurred in their interpretation of it. I think when the kids, once everything slowed down, 100 kids ran into the school screaming because after it all left, they were pretty terrified for the most part, and went into the school screaming, and the teachers didn't know what to do really, and had them draw, which was one of the wisest things they did, because of the parents were so, their children came home that day saying they saw a craft and alien creatures. Mm-hmm. So the school had to act, because of the parents. I think what I've heard from Emily and several other people, and also independently other people that have had contact with these things, it's a very similar type of series of events that take place, and this seems to be one of them. Not always, but from several other people from other cases that I've talked to, it's not uncommon.
How did this story leak out? How did the press get a hold of this to begin with? Do you know? The BBC reporter from England, he was stationed in Zimbabwe at the time, and he basically, it was him and along with Cynthia Hind, who was a MUFON investigator, and two other reporters in Africa who really broke the story. And then John Mack came along a little later, and then the story was brought over to the United States, because up until that point, it was just a story in Europe and Africa. Is that right? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And how long after this happened did John Mack jump on a plane and get out there?
He was out there a couple months after it had occurred. Yeah. A
couple of months.
And
do you think in a way that was too long, or do you think that the children had a really good, was it still fresh, do you think?
Oh, it was fresh. I think with events like this that I've seen, it doesn't really fade.
Uh-huh.
I think it allowed the kids, for them to settle a little bit into themselves and what they had experienced when he came, because again, he brought a totally different element of being a child psychiatrist and psychoanalyst. So he brought a lot of skills into those interviews that came. So it was he brought in something completely different that really brought out a lot of things that nobody thought to ask before that,
Right. Was anyone else interviewing these kids prior to him?
You mean in 1994?
Yes.
Yes, there were the BBC and Cynthia Hind from MUFON, and then two other reporters, one from ZBC and the other one from South African Broadcasting. Yeah.
Wow.
And then after John Mack came, there were two or three others that came and interviewed the kids. So what's amazing about this, to people who don't know, is the consistency of the reports throughout time. This wouldn't be a story if those reporters didn't do the interviews. We wouldn't have those interviews and the record of them, right immediately after the incident, and then 2 weeks later, and then 2 weeks later, and then a month and a half later, and then another 3 months later, and then another 2 years later, and then today. And it's remarkably consistent throughout. It's like one person's, how could people keep this story? If it was a made up story, how could it be held together so well over so much time?
We have to go to break in just
Sure.
in just a minute. But right before break, though, we have just like 25 seconds or something like that. How many hours of footage did you look through?
600 hours it's an enormous amount of footage that has been whittled down to an hour and 40. So it was an enormous task in that most documentaries you have 100 hours of footage or 200 hours. 600 good hours of footage was really, really difficult to get through. But we did it.
Wow.
And it's really good. So we have a lot of extra footage for after the film comes out too.
All right. Well, stay tuned, everyone. We're going to go into Emily. This question's for you. We're going to be taking calls later on. I'd love some calls to come in, and just please be respectful to the guests when you do call, and I'll announce that number later on. Emily, would you overall say, if you reflect back on this and where your life is now, would you say that this was a positive or more of a negative experience in your life?
I think it's been a little combination of both. The event itself, I think the best way I can describe it is you experience a bit of fear because it's something unknown that you've never seen before, which is a normal human reaction and response to anything that you haven't experienced before. I guess for me, Ariel has been, there's been a lot of psychological that's occurred. So I've had some ups and downs with the whole experience. Just as I've processed it, I don't see it as a negative. I see it as a positive. I'm more open-minded to, I guess, comprehension of how I fit in this world, as an experiencer. And, I think I see beauty. I like to see the good in situations. So I don't see it as a negative. I don't see it as aliens invading or anything fearful or, so I see it as a positive.
A lot of people will talk about, like, I don't want to sound too fringy or anything like that, but a lot of people will talk about abilities that they think they have gained from these experiences. Do you have anything that you think that you may have gained besides of what you just talked about?
Well, I gained a whole profile of artwork, which I find to be quite a blessing. I paint from my subconscious, and I find my work to be fascinating because for me, I get to see the analysis of the experience it's a trauma, so it imprints on your brain. So you see the analysis of what actually comes out through my art. And I think that's a blessing and a beauty.
I agree. I actually have seen your artwork. You post a lot of it online. I've seen it in person too. And you have some really interesting pieces, really. I really like a lot of it.
It's beautiful.
It's really, really very, very creative. And some of it's very intense, which should not be a surprise, I think.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like I'm biased or, because it's my work, but I just think it's fascinating. And if you're interested in art, if you're interested in psychology and, trauma, mental health, all those kinds of things, and sci-fi and, a true story, I think, check it out.
Emily, have you had to battle skeptics at all?
I try not to focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have people that don't believe, and that's okay. If you can just speak your truth and be honest with yourself, I think that's the most important thing. I stay grounded. My family is the most important thing to me, the people that are close to me. I'm not one to want to push anything on anybody. I never have been. So I think it's just more valuable to hear the human connection behind all of this so that I find that's more tangible for people. to digest, and I find people become a bit more open-minded when you speak from your heart and your truth.
Right. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Randy. Did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I just think that, you mentioned you were talking about with Alejandro how things have changed quite a bit in the last 2 years since a lot of release of information, the Navy incidents, etc. People have gone through a lot of ridicule and difficulty, being able to even talk about it. I know many people who have shared things with me that they will not share publicly, the things that they have seen or experienced because of the fear of being ridiculed. And I really hope that's going to change because of how important this subject is to all of us, not just any individual. This has to do with every single person on the planet. And I'm hoping that these people who have not had a voice, and there are thousands and thousands of them, most of them are silent, can have their say and have their voice about something that really profoundly impacted them and really does, again, have to do with every single human being on this planet.
Randy, what do you hope the audience is going to get out of this film?
I think, we had a test screening for the crew, and had a few guests with us and in a full-size theater, and it looked fantastic. But what was really striking, and this has happened in other screenings, are the people that are in tears, how it hits them. And I guess part of that is, some of that is people that have gone through their own experiences, but there were people there that had nothing to do or were not interested in this topic at all. But the struggle and the journey that the characters go through in this film are universal. They're universal stories that anybody can relate to. And that's, I think, the magic of it. And I think people will take away, like many that have seen it recently, that they have to sit for about 20 minutes to really take it in. But I think it really shows how these are real people that go through these things, and that was the goal. And you can see that throughout the film, the honesty and the reality throughout from these people, and just plain honesty, and you can see that. So the takeaway, I think, is hopefully to open people's minds a little more and realize that all kinds of people have been affected by this, and that people should be heard out. This is it's a big risk for a lot of people to come forward about this. All these kids have taken a risk, from Ariel and so many others. And I hope and I think that the times are changing where we can actually have a grown-up conversation about this, with all of us.
Right. I think you and I had a conversation, I don't know, a while back. And I said, without you even realizing it, the reason this film has taken so long because now is its time to come out, because people are taking it more serious. And would you say it's been 7 or 8 years now? We met in North Carolina quite a few years ago, and you were working on it then.
Yeah, no, it's taken 10 years. And
10 years, wow.
10 years, yeah. And I don't feel, I've left I've just trusted that this film would come out when it needed to come out. And believe me, there's not been a day where I've not been working on this film. Mm-hmm. And it's been an awfully long haul. And getting funding, all the other things people know nothing about. But 10 years for a film is, I had many opportunities to stop it where it was and release it. But I feel completely satisfied where it is now. It's at a very high level of storytelling and picture and sound, and yeah, I feel, I've gone through it several times, over and over and over and over and over, probably 1,000 times, and to get it right, because I feel like it's this is one story, and I feel like this is the story that'll last throughout history, because it is the actual story from beginning to end by the people that were there.
I personally, my opinion is the best part of this movie is seeing the children during the event, seeing snippets from that time, and then seeing them today, and having them talk about it today. I think that's the most important part, in my opinion, of this film. And I want to just ask you about that in regards to how in heck did you find all these witnesses, and what lengths did you go to?
Well, that was I found all the witnesses starting at the Ariel School, because I got as much information as I could when I first got there in 2008, and spent 9 months driving around the country finding some of these people. And that Zimbabwe was in chaos at that time, and a lot of the students after 95, the politics in Zimbabwe started to go south, and a lot of the white farmers and other people started to leave the country. So I had to start tracking people down that were in Australia, that were in England, that were all over the world. And so that was a journey for sure. That took a lot of time and money to just make that happen. Yeah, I just really appreciate their help, and that they trusted me enough to tell their story. I mean, that's a big deal, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, when particularly on this topic, when people will trust you that you're going to do a good job with their story is a compliment, and I really honor the trust that people have given me to do it right. And I really do feel like I've done it the best possible like I could possibly do it, with the help of my crew and everybody else, because you can't do these things alone. They're just too big.
Yeah, that's right. Emily, I just wanted to ask you one more thing, and then I'd like to offer calls out there for people if they'd like to call in. We'll talk about that in just a second. But Emily, since this has happened, where there's media now about this, a lot more media because this movie's upcoming, and the anniversary and all that. Do you get people contacting you through Facebook or email about your experience? And in other words, are you getting kind of bugged by people, annoyed, or do people respect your privacy?
I mean, for the most part, I find people just want to share when they hear that I've been through something, and they've heard me speak. For the most part, people want to share their experiences as well. I respect that, because I know what it's like to come forward, and people want to be heard. And that's, I think, what it comes down to, is that most people don't talk about their experiences. So when they hear somebody come forward, and put their life, you're putting your life in jeopardy, and in terms of credibility and your psychiatric well-being and all these kinds of different stereotypes that get put on you. They just want to share with you, and I respect that, So, I mean, not everybody that comes to you is not always, there are some people that are out there, and there are some people that really respect and value the actual integrity of what Ariel is all about. I just want to say that I think all the students we didn't really attach ourselves to ufology, and we didn't
Sure.
do this for some sort of an acclaim. Because it does jeopardize your career and your sanity, and people question you and all sorts of different things. So none of us did it for any other reason. It's just, I think most people can agree we want some closure to the whole event. But there have been other people that do reach out. I think a lot of my followers on Instagram are, interested in just the subject and the genuineness of the, reality of the subject.
Yes. I remember, let's see, it was a few years ago when I had Selma on, and the video, just the video alone, never mind the podcast, hit like 40,000 views or something like that. And she was contacted from all over the world. I don't know, what I'm actually getting at is once this film comes out, are you going to be ready for that?
I don't know. I mean, I wasn't ready when the event happened. I wasn't ready for that. But I think life just kind of throws things at you, and you have to kind of just roll with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think I'm as ready as I'll ever be, And I mean, I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit nervous coming on the show today, and but you just go with it, and I think that's all I can do. Our names are out there, and that's just reality for the students. It happened. We got interviewed, and that's all we can do is just be ourselves now at this point. And I think that's the best thing that we can actually do.
Well, I'm going to open the lines up, and Bill will be screening them. So if anyone wants to give a call in and ask our guest or guests a question, that number is 855-472-5483. And Bill will answer the phone and screen you. So if anyone has some questions, feel free to give us a call. And again, I'll put that number up on the screen so you can see it. But before anyone calls in, I guess I want to ask, as far as Randy, you said that you actually knew John Mack, and that was a tragedy. We lost him so young over in England there. But did he talk a lot after this? Did he bring up this case a lot when he came back to the States? And did he try to make some traction with getting people to look at this whole phenomenon?
Yes, there were a couple attempts at a documentary for it. And yeah, he was very, he actually included it in the book he was writing after that first book in '94. So yeah, he was trying to get some people to look at this, and just sort of everything fell through. But I also want to say, like, this anniversary, this is the 25th anniversary of Harvard going after John Mack, which is something they'd never done in their history of their university, which goes back 390 years or so. Yeah, I just want to honor that anniversary as well, for John Mack's journey, and also the BBC reporter's journey. And this has affected so many lives, this event. And I think I hope we can come to a day where we can people aren't afraid to talk about it and to be open about it. I think we can get somewhere, because obviously it seems like something's happening for sure around the globe. And I think it's imperative as a species, all of us, as the human species, that we try to understand it and make some headway, because I'd said it before, but it really could involve our fate.
Yes.
And there's nothing more important than that.
I agree. We have Chris on the line from New Jersey. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Hi, great show. Thank you, everyone. Really enjoying it. A question for Emily. I don't know if she wants to get into it, but would she be willing to share the circumstances of the visitations after she was a child? Because I know she had some. Is that something she'd be willing to share with the audience?
Well, I think we were going to try and keep it to Ariel School. Just for the anniversary, I will acknowledge that I did experience a couple other experiences in my life that were more spiritual and personal to me. I can talk about one briefly that my partner at the time also witnessed. And my room, I was sleeping, and my whole room illuminated, and it was not a thunderstorm. It wasn't a technology malfunction or anything like that. My whole room illuminated with this light, and I woke my partner up at the time in a panic because I woke up in a panic, and then I said, I don't know what just happened, but it's going to happen again. The whole room lit up, and then it was like on command. The whole room lit up all over again, and I don't know what to make out of these experiences, but they, to me, are more spiritual and personal. Not everything is, for everybody. Sometimes I think these things are just meant to happen for you, and they continue to mold you and shape you into the person that you are.
Excellent. I respect that. Great. Thank you.
All right, Chris, thank you for the call. So the line's open again, 855-472-5483. Feel free to call in, and let's just see what we have for messages. So also, if I get a chance, I will check out the chat room, and you can also post questions up there. It's a little difficult to do here solo and do the whole thing. What about Emily? What about press? Has there been any time that the press has tried to contact you and trying to get you to talk when you don't want to?
I haven't had any pressure from that. I've had a lot of respect in that regard. Yeah, and I'm not actively searching for it either. So for me, I prefer, to be honest, for the documentary to come out, and from there, I guess what I would say is that it's not just about me. There's a whole 62 of us that got interviewed for this, event.
Sure.
So I always want to, recognize the other children at the same time. And if somebody would like to do an interview, most of the time I'm an anxious person, and I don't actively look for any other attention on myself. So I kind of direct it towards Randall, to
makes sense.
to get the recognition, because he has the testimonies of all the children, So I think that's important, that all the voices get heard, for the event. But at some point, if somebody wanted to talk to me about my artwork, or the experience after the documentary, comes out, that would be something that I may consider. But I don't actively search for it.
Well, you better quit your job and everything else by then when that comes out. You're going to be busy, I think. Randy, we have another caller. Did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, just I've tried my best to shield the witnesses from the media. It's generally been channeled through me.
Yeah.
And which I took on, and just to keep their privacy. And
yes, I've seen you in action, with doing that. So yeah, you haven't let me had at any of them hardly. but anyway, we have let me just see who we have on the line. We have Nancy from South Carolina. Welcome to the show, Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, how are you?
Well, thank you for calling in. You have a question for directed at one of our guests or both?
I do. I just wanted to send it out to you guys. I worked with John Mack in Boston for 2 years, and I was a psychiatric nurse working in a Boston hospital, and I can't even remember the circumstances and how I got involved with the whole thing, but I met with experiencers once a month for 2 years in a group setting, and probably it was one of the most profound experiences of my life. And now I'm living in South Carolina, and I wanted to start up a group again to work with experiencers. And I wondered if you had, because what you're saying is amazing, and I know there's so many people out there that have had your experiences in different ways, and I think this is probably the most important news that's ever come across this planet, and I think it needs to be strengthened. I think it needs to be debunked, and I want to again participate in some form of group work with people. And I wondered if that was maybe presumptuous of me to do something like that, or if you think it's something that that is important to do, I would say. And if you had any wisdom on how I might be able to go about that, because as I said, it's a very important work. I really understand the taboo and all the judgments around the whole situation, and it's just a shame. And I think it's time that all of this, stopped, and we just get up front about the whole thing. So I'll defer to you guys.
Nancy, before I'll let the others speak, if you would, after the show or anytime, email me at martin@podcastufo.com. I'd like to continue the conversation a little more on this. Either Randy or Emily, would you like to address this?
Well, I feel like that. I thank you for that call. I really people that the helpers are really important, and I've been to several groups through this film and met so many people that are struggling with this, and I think it's so important to have a place to go. And a place where there's no, a place where you can share your story and have your feelings without it being steered in any direction, or having any predetermined, decision on what this is all about. But I think it's really profoundly important that more of the people in psychoanalysis, psychiatry, psychology are involved, because what it does to the human being when they see something like that. It's not a small experience, and it has rippling effects for years, if not decades. And Emily can speak to that. If you
Yeah, there's a trauma. It's a trauma that happens, So there's an impact on the brain and psychology of the individual, and it shapes and molds them into becoming the person that they are. I've been through a lot of highs and lows. It's difficult because you feel sometimes you're isolated and not able to discuss it with anybody without the ridicule and the shame and the stigma and the stereotypes. So, there's a mental health piece to it as well, and everybody needs somebody to talk to. So it's a wonderful idea, and thank you for calling in.
Yes,
Okay.
thanks, Nancy.
Can I get your email again, Martin?
Yes, it's martin@podcastufo.com. And I get a ton of spam, so make sure you have a very clear message in the subject line, if you would.
Okay, will do.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Nancy.
Going.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. A question occurred to me, Emily, and that is, was there any point in time where you just wanted this to go away and you wanted to forget about the whole thing and for it to go away permanently and you just not to deal with it anymore?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I think that's normal, though. You know, as we were just discussing, you know, sometimes you just, I think as an experiencer, you're left with questions as well. So those questions are like, why me, you know?
Sure.
And, you know, at first, when I had emailed Randall, I was curious. I was just, you know, like, why is my life splashed all over the internet? Why is my name being used? Why is my image as a child being put out there? Like, I was furious, you know? So I wanted it to just disappear, and, you know, I wanted to move on. I wanted to just develop into the adults and, you know, focus on my career. And I was kind of like, oh my gosh, this could jeopardize my life, you know? So at many points, I've had that kind of love-hate relationship with this experience. But I mean, it is what it is, you know. It's a blessing and it's a bit of a curse at the same time, and you just have to roll with it.
Right. You know, you are saying just exactly what a number of people have told me that have had, you know, profound experiences. Travis Walton, basically, you know, he actually told me in his own words that he hid from it for a number of years. And, you know, now he's very active. And by the way, he should be coming up fairly soon on one of the shows. But you know, I can definitely understand any bit of trauma, or, you know, people are going to want to, like, forget that, you know, that it happened. And, of course, the why me, you know, that's probably the number one question that people might ask themselves in a situation like this. So
sure. Yeah, that's very true. From what I've run across and with all the kids too, yeah, that's very much. There's a million questions and very few answers.
Randy, while you're on speaking now, I'm running on YouTube a slideshow of when you were filming in Africa. How long were you there? How many times were you there, and what was that like?
It was a culture shock when I first got there. You know, there was machine guns around, and security was crazy. And anyway, yeah, it was a very different world. I was there 3 times, and a total of a year and 4 months.
Wow.
And traveled to interview the witnesses that had seen something before Ariel. And then tracking down the kids from the school and some of the teachers as well. Yeah, it was. I've seen Zimbabwe, and my heart goes out to Zimbabwe because they have gone through an awful lot, and politically and political strife. So I went in 2008. When I went, there was political violence, and it was actually not recommended by the State Department that I go. Matter of fact, I shouldn't have gone. But the second time I went, it was much better, and then the third time I went, it was good. But the economy was starting to tank again, and now it's in shambles once again. But yeah, I mean, just going to Africa, I'm a small town guy that grew up in a town of 800 people. To go to Africa was a huge step it was a huge risk for me because and a huge step, but I was so determined that of finding the school and finding out more about this incident, because I knew over time that this was something that was really significant.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was a labor of love.
Yes, I'm sure. And like I mentioned before earlier, I've seen your African wildlife images online. I suggest anyone that loves nature and African wildlife to check out those photos. Those are just excellent.
Thanks.
Yeah, we do have a caller. We have Clark. He's calling in from Tennessee. Clark, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks a lot. It's good to talk to you guys, everyone, finally. I was a big fan of the show, and actually, I think, Randall, we have communicated through emails here and there, and congratulations on both of your work and getting. I hope this gets out there and gets a lot of eyes because it looks very interesting.
Thank
you. I actually, growing up, I'm originally from North Carolina. I moved here to Tennessee, but growing up, would watch all kinds of shades of documentaries based on the subject. And it's good to see. It seems like over the last like 5-6 years, so the subject has gotten some better light on it now. There's more. Just the material alone and the evidence that seems to be presenting itself is just fascinating, and it's good to see. And I had the privilege and honor to work with. I helped James Fox a little bit on his newest project, and I did some sound work for Dave Beatty on his Nimitz documentary. And as a filmmaker, you don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but it might bore the listeners to tears. But I know the process taking that long. What was your with the change in technology? It would just be interesting to hear just a brief run over of what cameras you were using, specifically, because I know you have to maintain some kind of consistency, but also what you ultimately finished your work with, if you're as far as on the editing side, because it's just that the whole process is like you say, it's a labor of love, and when you get into it and get your hands on it, and you're out in the field and working with the material that you really love, it's just the ultimate payoff is doing what you're doing. And if you have the time to talk about just a little bit of the process and your go-to cameras and what you finished with.
Yeah, I shot. Thanks for the question. And I'm sure if I rack my memory, I'll remember where we met. But we finished the film out in DaVinci and Sound Pro Tools, and edited in Premiere, and we edited in Final Cut 7.3, which is a really great program, but a little outdated. And we had about 6 or 7 go-to cameras. When I initially started, I was shooting on tape. You're right. The technology drastically started to change, and same with when Facebook. Actually, I wouldn't have probably gotten in touch with a lot of these witnesses if it wasn't for the technology of Facebook at that time. We have had to adjust to the technology evolving, and there's some great tools now that have really helped the quality of the film itself. Terranexing all the, I'm sure you're familiar with that term. All the archival and really cleaning things up. Not to take the real away, but to just take anything that's distracting away. But I appreciate the call, because there is a whole technical side that people don't understand or don't think about so much that I've had to deal with, and I'm sure you've had to deal with, where you have to get the best equipment you can and make the best of it. Yeah, and that happened here with the film. Yeah.
Well, hey, thank you for the call.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good luck with everything.
All right, thanks. Our eyes were glazing over, right, Emily? Just a little bit.
Sorry, guys. It's the tech side.
Yeah, that's okay. So anyone can call in. The phone number is 855-472-5483. Well, I'm going to ask a question, sort of along those lines, but not in the tech part. I just want to ask you what the hardest part of making this film was.
The hardest part has been having no time to really think or have a life, so to speak. This has been my life for 10 years. And when I completed the film with the crew, I started to remember, it was just weird. It was like all of a sudden I was back in 2008 when I started, and having memories from 2008. I'm like, oh my God, it was just like
wow.
It was quite a process that I went through, and it was like where I left off. Once I got started on this, I just didn't stop. And so it's been a process. I mean, some of the hardest things were dangerous things that I, going to interview people in Africa in some very, very not so good places. And that happened several times. And actually, in a good way, it actually grew me as a man, as far as, okay, when you're in those situations, you've got to be a man, and you've got to stick it out. And so, yeah, the most difficult part, boy, there were so many, but it was all worth it. But just, all the behind the scenes work of tracking down all the material, archival and all that was another whole thing. But I think out in the field was some of my most difficult moments. Yeah.
Right. I guess I'll ask you, what was your favorite part about making this film?
Meeting the people who this happened to, meeting Emily, meeting Emma, Salma. I mean, there's 40 or 43 people that I sat with, and I think that was it. And the people, Judy and the staff at Ariel School, and they're just amazing, giving and helping. And the people I worked with, I tend to do projects alone generally, and in the past I have, and to bring on the crew that I had was a great growing experience for me to really work and collaborate with 5 other people. That helped me grow a lot, and I know it helped the film enormously to have such talented people working with me. And so yeah, the part that I really love is just being able to tell this story in the best way possible, but also working with all these people and getting to know them and their lives and understanding them. And, yeah, that's all I can say.
Yeah, that's great. We have John calling from Florida. I believe it's John. Let me take a look. Welcome to the show.
Yes, hi, how are you doing?
It is John, right?
Yes, it is. That's right, John.
Hi, John. Thanks for the call. You have a question for one of our guests, or both?
Yeah. Yes, actually, I have a two-pronged question. First, I want to just say this is amazing. I only just learned about this yesterday, and I've been seeing the clips and the trailers, and actually ended up getting up in the middle of the night and couldn't stop thinking about the whole incident. So,
wow. Yeah, it does have that effect. I mean, the first time I ever saw footage of John Mack interviewing these children, it was moving. It was an experience that really had me thinking really deeply.
Yes, exactly. And I like Emily. I grew up overseas 10 years of my life as a third culture kid, they call them, and I was just feeling like her experience of being over there, and she talked about a culture shock coming back, and then here she's got two shocks in her life, and because of the incident. And so two questions. One's just really brief. How tall were the aliens, Emily?
So they were about 3.5 to 4 feet tall, and I say that because they were in comparison to around my height as a child.
Okay.
Wow.
So you were actually able to sort of see directly into their eyes because of the height thing.
Yes.
Were all of them the same height, or were they different heights?
I can't speak for anybody else, but the ones that I saw were like identical in height.
That's interesting. And my second question is, has this changed your view of spirituality over time? And what you don't have to share it with me, but if you have anything to share.
Yeah, it definitely opened my eyes. My parents worked for the Salvation Army, and so we were missionaries overseas for the Salvation Army, and I still have a faith in God, and I think that's going to be something that's covered in the documentary film as well, where most of the children still have a faith in comprehension and understanding of God, but we also have a comprehension and an understanding of another creature.
Yeah, to include that. So in a sense, you could say your view of God, in the sense of maybe, well, I know as a child it changes, or maybe changes over. Has it changed somewhat then, that view of what is God and how does?
Yeah, I went through a bit of a rebel stage in my life where I actually stopped going to the church because I didn't understand how it all fit. And so I took a step back from spirituality in my life for quite some time. And it was always there, and it was always prevalent as to what I would say being a spiritual person and growing up with some morals, ethics, and values and beliefs.
Yeah.
But there was a time in my life where I did take a step back. And then I had another couple of experiences which actually brought me back to my faith. So it was a bit of a journey.
Huh. Wow. Hey, we're running out of time rather quickly here. So thanks for the call, John. And we have another call.
Thank you.
We have another call. Thank you. And I do want to tell the YouTuber out there, anyone on YouTube, when we end the show tonight, we're going to play that trailer. By golly, you're going to get to watch that trailer. So we do have another caller, and this is our last caller for the night. We have Andy. Welcome to the show from Connecticut.
Thank you very much. I realize this is very much of a human story, but I am curious to ask, what, if any, physical or trace evidence was seen or gathered at the landing site after the incident occurred? I'm wondering if any of the older children walked any of the teachers out to the site either later that day or the next day. Any comment there?
Good question.
Yeah. The site was looked at on, basically the teachers had kept everybody away from the site. And then Cynthia Hind had brought in a specialist that she had worked with the Geiger counter and all kinds of other different devices. They took soil samples from 5 different sites. Nothing came back positive as far as unusual, anything unusual. There was a part of the long grass that was seemed to be blown down in almost like an oval horseshoe shape in a way, where this thing was first sighted. So as far as tangible, scientifically provable evidence on that, there was nothing revealed, but the work was done. But we don't know, a lot of times we don't know what energies or what we're dealing with, what kind of traces would be left It really depends on their technology and how it was employed at the time, if that's the case. So that's all I have to say about that. But it's a very good question, and yeah, it's definitely something we cover in the film also.
Andy, thank you. We're going to have to cut it now, so I do appreciate the call.
Emily, for you, approximately what?
I guess the screener took that seriously, so the call is gone. I'm sorry about that, Andy. We still have our guests on, though, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Here.
Okay. So we're at the end of the show, and I do want to thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed tonight's show. I hope you did too.
Yeah. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Martin.
And you can check out the site. It's arielphenomenon.com, and we appreciate any support people can give us and any suggestions. We're open. And the film is coming soon.
That's great. All right. I'm going to say goodnight to you too, and I really want to thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you, Martin.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
All right. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye. So, as I am so much looking forward to this show coming out, and please keep checking that out, and you will see the show coming on my website. I have a banner there, and you can keep in touch just by clicking there. Next week we have Rob Shelley coming on the show, and stay in there on YouTube. We are going to play the trailer for you now, and remember to keep your eyes to the sky.
Hundreds of people today phoned the ZBC saying they sighted an unidentified flying object.
It was a bright, radiant light. I've never seen anything like it in my life. It was the absence of noise I didn't like.
People from all over Zimbabwe were phoning the BBC to say, we've seen something weird.
There were three of us that saw it. Myself, the co-pilot, and the pilot in the other aircraft.
No wings, no nothing. Shiny oval thing.
Ariel School, 19th September 94. Could you tell me what you saw on Friday?
The silver thing in amongst this clump of trees.
We saw this black figure running.
His face was like this, and his eyes were down here.
I just thought it was some kind of alien from a different planet.
When you looked at those children, they were absolutely credible. And whereabouts was it?
In the trees over there.
There was a big group of kids pointing and making a noise and shouting and screaming.
The panic spread. Am I safe or am I not safe?
He's a Harvard psychiatrist.
Meet Dr. John Mack.
We came away convinced that an extraordinary event occurred here.
I think they want people to know that we're actually making harm on this world.
How did that get communicated to you?
It came through my head.
Somehow there was a message about pollution from the way he was staring?
Yes.
I was just a hard-ass journalist. I could handle war zones, but I could not handle this UFO thing.
I mean, I never felt this could derail my career.
Angels, yes. Extraterrestrials, no.
John is lost at this time.
This journey is literally to pick up the pieces and put them back together.
Oh my gosh. I was right on the logs when it actually happened.
We are the ones who drew those funny pictures.
Something that I'll never ever forget.
I've drawn this again.
But I usually kept it quiet.
People think you're crazy.
You feel so alone in society.
Why is it that we tend to want to shrink this powerful phenomenon to our notions of reality rather than being able to stretch ourselves to expand what we know and to admit that we don't know? Would you like to see him again?
Yes.
And if you saw him again, what would you do?
I'll ask him some questions.
What would you like to ask him?
I'll ask him what is he doing on Earth and what does he want with us.
And it hits me, oh my gosh, this is that triangle.
There's explanation for everything that occurred in the Rendlesham Forest incident that doesn't involve aliens at all.
It was completely silent. It comes right over our heads.
He saw a classic flying saucer really standing in the clearing.
He turned over to my father and held his hand, and he looked in his eyes and he said, "We're not alone."